feel the power of the dark.
Hey guys, I hope you're hungry. Welcome back to Full Incense. This is War Stories. My name is Jericho, and today's war story will be a continuation of my new Legend series. We started with the Legend of Lando, so now we're going to have the other hero from the Bestman expansion, the Ruthless Bounty Hunter, Dengar. So the Legend of Dengar today, folks.
I can't believe I'm getting paid for this.
Voiced by Simon Pegg, just as he was in the Clone Wars cartoon, Dengar. I'm embarrassed to say, don't know the name of his actor. I think it's something with a G in Empire, but he of course didn't have any lines. So there's not really anything to know about him except for he has kind of a turban thing going on, and he's one of the bounty hunters. Oh, you see that rebel freak out there for a second? He's one of the bounty hunters that gets sent after Han Solo. But Dengar has a lot more to him than a silly looking turban, and it's not just the money that sent him after Han Solo. So let's talk about the Legend of Dengar. Dengar is a Corellian, just like Han Solo, born on the planet Corellia. That's basically like generic white people land in Star Wars. Basically, many of the main heroes, Wedge, Han, Dengar, are all from Corellia. It's certainly a very, very popular place of location for, generic Star Wars white guys. He spent his childhood, with his parents, a fairly well-adjusted home life, despite, what you might think from a hardened bounty hunter with a spooky appearance. But he spent his childhood repairing swoop bikes. Swoop bikes are actually pictured in the saga. In Episode 2, when Anakin goes after Shmi, when she's captured by the Sand People, that's actually, it looks a lot like the speeder bikes from Episode 6, but that is technically a swoop bike, not the same thing. So Dengar, his father was a swoop bike racer, and so Dengar as a child would learn to repair swoop bikes and became a racer himself. That was his early career, was both a swoop racer and he got into bounty hunting at quite an early age, as he was shown to have quite the aptitude for it. So as far as his appearance, it was actually in a swoop bike accident. Dengar was moving his way up the ranks of the swoop bike circuit on Corellia, and there was another cocky hotshot swoop pilot on Corellia that people kept saying, well, who's better when it really comes down to it? Who is really the man? Who is the future of swoop bike racing? Is it Dengar, or is this other guy we've seen, Han Solo? So Dengar, jealous of the brash young Han Solo, challenges him to a swoop bike race in the middle of the swamp, and winner take all. Loser leaves Corellia, leaves swoop bike racing behind to prove who is better. So in a pretty horrifying display, Han is the reason why Dengar looks like he does, and it's pretty much on purpose. I mean, they're in a no-holds-barred race. Han is far from the hero we know him as, later in the saga. But Han basically blasts Dengar in his face with the jets of his swoop. They become tangled like the speeder bikes do in Episode 6, between Luke and one of the scout troopers. And Dengar has to leap off, and he crashes amongst some crystals, one of which pierces his brain. So Dengar gets ridiculously messed up in this swoop race. And because everybody finds out about this illegal race, he gets kicked off of his swoop team and is never the same again. That, however, is the least of his worries, as he is almost killed. Like I just said, a crystal pierced his brain. So, he's not at his best. So the only people with the power and the abilities to heal him are Imperial scientists. So the Imperials, while they're repairing his brain, figure they may as well just go ahead and get rid of compassion, mercy, and pity, leaving only rage, hope, and accidentally loneliness. They decided that rage is all you're going to need to be a successful bounty hunter and a successful agent of the Empire, and they wanted to give him hope, so that he could really be the true perfect killing machine, because they wanted him to hope that if he, ever finished the jobs that the Empire needed to do for him, he could be restored to the way he was once and for all. So a pretty sad story behind the silent Dengar. But luckily, it is that... Oh, dang it. Sorry, I was glancing at my notes and I ran off the thing. I'm gonna die. I need to get some health, but we'll see. Sorry, I'm gonna pay attention to what I'm doing for a second. I don't really want to die. It's pretty embarrassing against the easiest level of computers.
These rebels should just pack it in.
Should pack it in. A lot of British colloquialisms. And I guess that kind of, I mean, if he's Corellian, why does he have a British accent and Han does not? Anyway, what are you gonna do? So, Dengar worked with the Empire for many years, was primarily an assassin.
But a scratch.
But the one thing that sort of overrode his duties to the Empire and was even more important to him was his rage and his lust for vengeance against Han Solo. So when Dengar shows up aboard Vader's Star Destroyer, the Executor, in Episode 5, in the the usual suspects lineup with the other bounty hunters, including Boba Fett, Dengar actually had been captured by the Empire. He had left the Imperial service a few years before, and just to strike out on his own in search of Solo. So he heard that the rebels were on Hoth and was attempting to capture Solo himself. But when Vader finds out that he has Dengar in the Executor's detention block, he decides, you know what? Let's Dengar free in return for Dengar being one of the hunters to go after Han Solo. However, it's not to be. Dengar also, much like how Boba Fett is able to pull it off in the movie, Dengar realizes that Han Solo is likely to try to hide and outsmart the Empire because Dengar knows in his own history of chasing down Solo how wily the space pirate can be. But Boba Fett, not wanting to risk having to lose his prize to Dengar, almost destroys Dengar's ship, the Punishing One, and leaves him listing in the asteroid field, which ends Dengar's hunt for to capture Solo himself. Later, Dengar catches up to Han Solo again, but is once again thwarted by Boba Fett. He was also on Tatooine, trying to capture the now carbonite-frozen Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt's palace. He's en route when he is again waylaid by Fett. Fett leaves him alive, but Dengar is not able to get to Jabba's palace until after Jabba has been killed and his sail barge destroyed and Han Solo set free. So, not wanting to leave empty-handed, Dengar and his then wife, Manaru is her name, decide to search the wreckage of the sail barge to just try to find something useful, to not go home empty-handed, like I said. And what should they find but an almost dead body lying in the sand outside the ruins of what was once the mighty Sarlacc. None other than Boba Fett, who has destroyed the Sarlacc as he escaped it. So yes, it hasn't yet been made. They actually haven't said one way or the other in the new continuity yet if Boba Fett survived, but that was, a long ago with the classic line, the Sarlacc family somewhat undigestible. It's always been something held in the Star Wars Legends continuity that Boba Fett does indeed survive his encounter with the Sarlacc in Episode 6. He does not have that ridiculous, ignominious end that the movie set out to give him. And in the old Legends, surely this won't be the way they end up going with it, but it is Dengar who nurses Boba Fett back to health. And the two actually become partners, despite Boba Fett. Look, they are freaking out with these things. Rockets, gosh, stop. I'm just gonna hide in here. So despite Boba Fett, getting the better of Dengar several times, Dengar and Boba Fett then team up. And the two are a bounty hunting team for many years, are successful in helping to orchestrate the bounty hunter wars. And they both managed to survive it. Boba Fett never really trusts Dengar because he never really trusts anyone as a long-term partner. But he does, understand and respect that Dengar saved his life. So in return, you know, he doesn't betray Dengar, and there, you know, is able to lend his bounty hunting excellence and the power of his name and what he's able to do to help Dengar, who at this point was not the most successful bounty hunter by any means, despite his, you know, cybernetic modifications. I think I said that, yeah. They fixed his brain and it made him a cyborg too. Like, that's kind of, I guess it kind of goes hand in hand, but that's one reason. He actually wore the turban. This was like a retcon for Clone Wars before all of this was non-canon anyway, that he wore the turban before he was ever messed up, just as a fashion statement on Corellia. And then he wore it later because, I don't think I can make the camera look at his face, but he's quite burned on his face as well. So the turban is to cover up some of the damages from the accident and what Han did to him. So anyway, Boba and Dengar become a bounty hunting team. I was almost a crime fighting team, but they decide to go all out on one last desperate attempt to capture Han Solo after the events of Return of the Jedi a few years later. They fail, and Dengar retires once and for all. He leaves Boba Fett and the life of bounty hunting behind and has a happy ending. He's able to have some of the cybernetic stuff reversed, so he has more of his emotions back. He has his lady love, Manaru, and the awesomely named Punishing One, and they retire from the bounty hunting trade. When the Legends continuity was, you know, created, thus ending the old Star Wars Expanded Universe, he was still alive, but hadn't been a big player in the galaxy for many years. So that's basically the Legend of Dengar. As always, you know, there's a lot more to it. This is a very brief overview, just kind of explaining, you know, who he was to people that didn't know and how he affected the events and was affected by the events of the Galactic Civil War as depicted in Star Wars 4 through 6. He has quite a big arc in the Clone Wars cartoon that you should definitely check out. A lot of the material for this Legend of Dengar came from the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy of novels that are called the Mandalorian Armor, Slave Ship, and Hard Merchandise. It might be Hard Merchandise, the second book, and Slave Ship, the third, but that's the trilogy where a lot of this information comes from. And just like the Han Solo trilogy, one of the very first EU novels I really got into, and I really quite loved it. Very, very, very good stuff. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the notorious bounty hunter Dengar. If you did, make sure you subscribe, because we got war stories like this every Tuesday and Thursday. This Legend series is new, but on war stories we talk about all sorts of random stuff while I goof around on Star Wars Battlefront. So once again, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything, because besides war stories, we got something every single day here on the Full Ensigns channel. But that'll do it for me today. I don't know about you guys, but I'm full.